What can even be said about that Nebraska basketball game that we just watched? The Huskers lose a heartbreaker, must-win matchup versus Minnesota in the most painful way imaginable. They were down by at most 18 points. Once again, in the first half for Nebraska, they didn't show up. Okay, they got blown out from the very beginning. Minnesota was hitting shots. Nebraska couldn't hit anything. Bryce Williams couldn't get going. But then in the second half, they had life. Felt like Northwestern again, where they just started to come back. Things started clicking. Juwan Gary got a bunch of clutch rebounds. Bryce Williams started getting going. As Connor CJ hit some big shots. And, in the final 5 minutes of this ball game, it was pretty much knotted up. So Nebraska comes all the way back against Minnesota. This is a game that you needed to win in order to make the NCAA tournament. And you make the go-ahead bucket to go up 1 point with 7 seconds left. Minnesota goes down the court quickly, hits a 3-ball, dagger. It's game over. Unbelievable. Why even watch Nebraska athletics at this point? We know the result. It's always going to be painful. This one in particular. Okay. This is a game that Nebraska could not afford to lose. You're already on a losing streak. You already barely lost to Michigan last week. You already lost to Penn State about 2 weeks ago. You're already on the bubble. You went from being a 9 seed to a 10 seed to an 11 seed. And with this loss, you're probably out of the bubble at a 12 seed spot with 2 games left. I don't get it with this team, man. And I know why we're not very good. The reason why we're not good is because this team has barely any talent. Okay? And that's what happens when you completely rely on the transfer portal and you can't recruit high schoolers. Okay? But you're going to have years where you're really good like last year and you make the NCAA tournament. And you're going to have years like this year where it's just a roller coaster. Okay? And the fact that we're still 17-12 is a testament to Bryce Williams, and it tells you how good he is. This roster, besides Bryce Williams and Juwan Gary, absolutely horrendous. The fact that Braxton Mia is even getting minutes on this team tells you how bad it is. The fact that Raleigh Worcester is getting minutes on this team, he is horrendous. Okay? It just lacks a lot of talent. Sam Hoiberg, the fact that, he's a starter on this squad, man. And I love Sam Hoiberg. I think he's a good basketball player. He's not a starter in the Big Ten on a tournament team. So the fact that we're even at 17 wins, it's a testament to Bryce Williams. I think it's a testament to Fred Hoiberg and the amount of close wins we've had against good teams. But now it starts to crumble. Now the lack of talent really shows up when it matters the most, in March, against a really, really bad Minnesota team. And again, they did not show up today. The fans did. We had a stripe out at PBA. Sold out crowd. They were there supporting the boys. But once again, this team did not show up. And now the whole narrative going into tomorrow, going into the next week is going to be, can Nebraska somehow get back into the tournament? Okay, because I think we're right at a 12 right now. We're probably outside the bubble. You need to beat Ohio State. And that's a game that you did not want to be a must-win. Okay, you had no business with that game being a must-win because Ohio State, they're surging right now. They're also on the bubble. They're hungry. And you play that in Columbus. And then you play Iowa next Sunday, last game of the regular season. You got to win that basketball game as well. So Nebraska they're not out of it completely, but for the first time pretty much all season, they are right now not in, I would say, the bubble. They are out of it with this horrendous loss to Minnesota, 3-game losing streak. They've lost 4 of the last 5. Again, the team just didn't show up. I don't get it, man. And they didn't show up the last couple of games. They barely beat Northwestern, and they came back in that one. They didn't deserve to win that. They didn't deserve to win Michigan, and they didn't. And Michigan was a ranked squad. I don't get it with this team, man. If only they could start off the games hot and they didn't have to come back every single matchup. So I don't know at this point in Nebraska, they've got to win the next 2. Again, you lose a single one and it's over. You lose Ohio State, it's over. You lose Iowa, it's over. And you might need to win some games in the Big Ten tournament on top of it, which is just a horrendous scenario to be in. They're sliding at the worst time. And it also doesn't help Nebraska that a lot of these bubble teams like a VCU, like a Georgia, they're ascending right now. And they've got some good wins. So the other bubble team's doing really well. Nebraska's doing really poorly. I think it's over for Nebraska. And even if they did make the tournament, we already knew they were going to lose because we're not talented enough. We don't have enough depth. We don't have enough shooters. Man, really, really frustrating game. Horrendous ending. The fact that they were down from the very beginning, they chipped their way back into it against a really bad Minnesota team, and they lost at a walk-off 3. Man, it's awful. It's awful, awful, awful. But it's poetic for the season that we've had, man. I think we were lucky to get a lot of the wins we did, beating Illinois, beating Oregon, right? Those ranked squads. Beating Creighton, too. man, I mean, you got a lot of good wins in here, but this is where it really hurts you. You can't lose games like this. You can't lose games like this against an awful Minnesota squad. It looks like it's over for Nebraska, man. Gut-wrenching loss today. Gut-wrenching loss. And now your back's against the wall. See what you can do. You need some players besides Bryce Williams and Juwan Gary to show up. That has barely happened all year. So we'll see if they can finally do that. I'm looking at you, Burke. I'm looking at you, Raleigh Worcester. I'm looking at you, Braxton Mia. These guys are terrible. And that just shows you that Bryce Williams, how good he is, the fact that we're even at 17 wins and still even potentially in the tournament, but it looks like we're out of it. So, all right, guys, really bad loss. Let me know your thoughts down below. Absolutely want to hear what you have to say. Let me know in the comment section. Hey, hit that like button. It really helps me out. Also, subscribe if you made this far. As always, folks, go Big Red. Go for it, Hoiberg. See you in the next one.